All right, everyone, get your Mueller report out and follow along if you'd like. First and foremost, the report says that there were numerous contacts between Trump campaign officials and Russia. There was collusion in the Merriam-Webster sense of the word, but that's not criminal conspiracy. Volume 1, page 2. The report says coordination, quote, requires more than the two parties taking actions that were informed by or responsive to the other's actions or interests, end quote. So there is no conspiracy in the eyes of the law there. Second takeaway, the most missing headline here is the entire volume 1 of the report, the extent to which Russia, via its Internet Research Agency and the GRU, attacked, hacked, and influenced people prior to the election. Think of how many followers you have on Twitter or your Facebook pages. You are considered a micro-influencer if you have 2,000 followers. You're a full-fledged influencer at 100,000 followers. Volume 1, page 26 says, Russian propaganda Facebook accounts like United Muslims of America, Don't Shoot Us, Being Patriotic, and so on, each had between 200 and 300,000 followers, reaching a potential estimate of 126 million people. Volume 1, pages 33 and 34, says people in the Trump campaign like Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Kellyanne Conway, Michael Flynn, even the president's own personal account, promoted tweets and posts that were literally Russian propaganda, and they may not have never known it. Volume 1, page 37, shows Russia didn't just hack Clinton's emails and the DNC, but computers belonging to state boards of elections, secretaries of state, and U.S. companies that made software for U.S. elections. Here's my third takeaway, and this has to do with whether or not the president obstructed justice. There is ample evidence suggesting the president affected at the time or tried to impede in the investigation. There's a lot of it. Mueller investigated 11 events, including why he fired FBI Director James Comey, Volume 2, page 75. That he ordered White House counsel Don McGahn to squash the special counsel, but instead McGahn resigned, Volume 2, page 4. That he edited Trump Jr.'s statement about the infamous Trump Tower meeting with a Russian representative, but later denied any involvement in editing that statement, Volume 2, page 101. But all this is prefaced with the legal understanding that a sitting president cannot be indicted for a number of reasons. But Mueller could clear the president if warranted. The report says, quote, if we had confidence after a thorough investigation of the facts that the president clearly did not commit obstruction of justice, we would so state. Based on the facts and the applicable legal standards, however, we are unable to reach that judgment, end quote. It is because of this, several legal scholars say, Mueller is not just saying, we just don't know, Mr. Barr, here, you decide. But rather, here, Congress, this is your territory.
And Congress has said they're subpoenaing for a non-redacted report. They want Mueller to testify in front of them by May, right?
Yes, that's what they want. They've asked Mueller to testify. But people got to understand something. Like, first of all, whether you support the president, whether you don't, whether you believe prosecutors, whether you don't,
right,
read the report. It's nonpartisan. It's all there. Just look at what evidence compiled. There's emails to back it up, quotes, interviews, indictments. Read the report.
Right. You don't have to listen to us. You can read it on your own.
And besides that, there's another thing that's really interesting that we talked about, is that there are prosecutors who said what the president did was obstruction. I've charged state prosecutors with that very thing. But he's the president. The president has constitutional protections. He's the president. Mm-hmm. He's the head of the executive branch, the third of the government. So there are protections that he has that makes it legally very complex. It's hard to understand.
Beyond what's hard to understand, I think the first thing that you brought up in your report is significant. And as Americans, we should all be concerned that our election in 2016 was tampered with. I'm not talking about the president. I'm talking about what our intelligence agencies told us.
Yeah.
We were messed with. Our elections were messed with. That's at the foundation of our democracy, and we should be concerned about that.
Yeah, and it seems a little just strange or icky that the big message is from the president is I'm free. Like I told you, witch hunt. But we were attacked really viciously from a very, very powerful country. And it showed. If you just read Volume 1, it shows.
Right. Thanks so much, Chris. We got to move on, but thank you. Next to the big chatter in local sports.